I mean, getting records out there and on the internet right now is like everybody's trying to do that. Everybody's trying to be that person, that hot person on a blog. But for you guys, it almost kind of seems like it helped your branding overall. And plus, you were like one of the first producers that really had that vocal tag at the beginning, you know what I'm saying, of your record, and like people started to know who you were. How important is the branding perspective when it comes to being a producer these days?
I think it's everything. I think the vocal tag now is kind of played. I think it's more like,
Yeah, sure.
well, we have to.
Right.
People pay for it now.
Right.
But I think branding is everything now. I mean, it's all about marketing. It's not really about anything else. So it's like, I'm trying to think off the cuffs, like what's a good example?
I mean, we're a great example because, you know, as a producer, you're only as good as your last hit.
Sure.
As a producer, strictly speaking.
Yeah.
But because we've been able to build a brand and relationships and all the other stuff we're doing, it's like we don't need something on the top 10 all the time to still get a phone call,
Right.
or for somebody to pick up the phone when we call, because we're still relevant.
Yeah,
we're
still doing your thing.
We're still doing things. So it's like, you know,
We're a great example, but another good example is Frank Ocean.
Okay.
You know, like we worked really close with him. He's our brother. We wrote a lot of records. As a songwriter, we wrote quality records together. So we kind of built this thing where it's like, oh, when those guys get together, you're gonna get something special.
Right.
And then after a while, he was sitting on a label, nothing was happening. He decided to do a mixtape, get it out there. He hooked it up with OF, and then boom.
Out here.
So he recorded all of it in our house. You know, the records that everybody love are the ones that we've done. So we're relevant by default.
Okay.
You know, we find ways to keep ourselves attached to the things that we just believe in and think that's just got a lot of quality. So
we never planned that. That
it's happened.
Kind of happened.
just from making good music.
All the hottest artists out here in LA right now that people are like really loving, like say like a Stacey Barth. We was working with her when nobody was working with her. A lot of songwriters like James Fauntleroy. People like Cocaine 80s with No ID and all those guys. Like these are all our friends, and we would just, yo, here's some music, do it. Like whatever, it's all good. Like it was just all love. But now they're hot on the internet, so it's like, yo, MIDI's hot.
Yeah.
They doing all of this.
Right.
And I'm gonna take the credit, even though all I did is just say like, hey, I like you. And yeah, you like that beat? Cool, it's all good.
Right.
You can't go around saying like, I need like $5,000 for that.
Well, it gets to the point now where people leak songs and they put produced by MIDI Mafia.
Right.
It's not even produced by it. I'm gonna be like, I've never even heard that before, but
Who's that?
they're trying to get views on YouTube or something. So it's all right, cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Jay-Z's new song. Everybody tries to find it online.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to ask you guys about 21 Questions is the fact that it had a huge sample in it. Let the producers know how that affects overall the situation in terms of how you get paid and whatnot. Because I'm sure you ate off of the record in other ways, but how about the sampling part of it?
It can kill you or it can't. Like you never really know.
Right.
Like our use of the sample in that song was small. Like it was the intro guitar lick to another song. It had nothing to do with the melody of the song. It was just, I thought it sounded cool.
Right.
And I chopped it up and whatever. It was just bad timing because he was on his deathbed and his estate was, they were being real difficult. Okay. So that just made the whole thing really hard. That should have been, even though there's no way to really quantify it, but that should have been like a 10%. You know what I mean? Like in like a $5,000 clearance or something. Right. It ended up being way more than that. And it was kind of like, it was just bad luck.
So I'm sure you wanted to get that record out there, and that people probably came to you saying, I need records just like that, I'm looking for records just like that.
A lot of people had that track before.
Oh, okay.
And no one ever really asked us that.
Really?
See, we did a lot of groundwork before that record. Like, we did a lot of spec sessions.
Okay.
So, for example, like, we did with Fab, we was over here, we was doing Sylvia Rome's like, here, I need you to do this, and this, and Craig Coleman's like, do this, and this.
Right.
And we weren't saying pay us, we just was like, happy to be in the studio and just wanted to work.
Right.
So when that happened, everybody, the industry, all the executives already knew who we were.
Okay.
So they all were like, yo, those are good guys. Everybody kind of like was rooting for us in a way.
And we had radio relationships in New York at the time. I don't remember, but we would remix stuff that was on the radio.
Okay.
And Bruce would like throw a verse on, and we'd do something a little different with it, and then we'd give it to like DJ Enough, and he played at 5, and like everybody go crazy. So it was like.
So you guys really had a well-rounded plan. It almost seems like you had a plan. I know we've worked together in the past as far as doing different things, and one thing about you, Bruce, is you always have a plan. You try to see the end result. How do you do that as a producer? How do you do that now as an artist? Like, what are some of the things you do strategically when you're trying to put together a project like that?
I think you gotta like look at what the marketplace is asking for. Like everybody wants free music, right? So you know you're not gonna make any money from giving away free music. So you gotta say to yourself, what could I make money from? And then when you start thinking about that, is when you start getting really creative.
Last question, fellas. You know, we deal with a lot of new producers across the country with the website, across overseas. What are some of the things you can give them from your experience, little gems, just so they can get better at their craft, or hopefully, you know, play some records out there?
The number one thing I would tell the young guys to do is be innovative. Just be as innovative as possible. We got to be producers again. We got to find talent. We got to develop it. We have to give it to the world. And then on top of that, like, you got to do things like what Lex Luger did. He had this huge catalog and just gave it away.
Yeah.
That's it. He gave it away. And next thing you know, everybody who was cutting his records because it didn't cost anything, it's all on the radio. So it's a back end deal.
Right.
It's the same thing. We you know, when we were coming up, it was a little bit different on how you get to people.
Yeah.
Like now it's like you can Twitter, or you can put stuff on SoundCloud or whatever. But it's like the analogy I always used to use back in the days, and it still applies, is, you know, like a drug dealer. You give some away, get people hooked, and then they come back. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to get something out there. I see a lot of producers, like, they start and they're worried about copyrights and what if somebody steals my work. I'm like, dude, don't worry about that.
Yeah, you can't
just
anymore.
Put it out. Like, you know, how much stuff do we have on YouTube? Like, we just gave up because it actually helps us in the end.
Right.
You know, it keeps people talking. It keeps our name out there. So do whatever you got to do. Like, put stuff on YouTube. Put stuff on the internet. Like, build a website. Put it on Facebook. Whatever.
Brand yourself.
Brand yourself. Yeah.
Now, what about what you guys got coming up? What's new on deck for MIDI? What do you guys got coming up in the
we got a lot of artist development going on. We have this new platform we're setting up MTV. We're part of that whole Hype Music thing that they just set up. You can check that out.
Okay.
Hype Music. I forget the website. Is it Hype Music Online or
Hypemusic.com.
Hypemusic.com. We got another album coming out with a DJ in the UK, sort of a fusion we did with him. So that's coming out in the next probably 3 months. And was the movie Sparkle? We have the song with CeeLo in that. I'm a Man. So we did that record, and you know, Frank Ocean's album's coming out. We wrote some stuff on that with him, and what else?
That's it.
A lot going on as always.
Keeping it moving. Man.
All right, cool. Give it up for MIDI Mafia for being in the building with us. iStandardProducers.com. Big shout out to conveyorofcool.com. We appreciate you coming out as well. iStandard behind the rhymes, MIDI Mafia. Fellas, as always, appreciate it.
Shout out to you guys, man. You've been doing this a long time. You know, we've been.
It's a serious brand.
Appreciate you guys.
Producers need to
supportive.
need to put your music on iStandard.
You guys have been innovative because, like, there used to be mad beat battles all over the place, and then you guys are like the last guy standing, and you kind of like set the bar. You know what I mean? So
You heard it first.
keep it moving.
Real words. We out.